There have been several goth artists from the 90s that have fallen to obscurity. Bands that only made one album or a few EPs and disappeared. Some were more lucky to come out with two albums before breaking up afterwards and then fading away into obscurity. Despite all that, there was plenty of history left behind after that decade, leaving behind several relics. But one that really stuck out to me was 13 Candles, a band you most likely never heard of. They managed to catch my interest so much that I uploaded every individual track off their album, Angels of Morning Silence, on this channel because no one else did. And their other album, Come Out of the Dark, was already available on YouTube in individual tracks. I eventually removed all the songs off my channel because no one was really listening to them. So, who are 13 Candles? And why doesn't anyone talk about them anymore? What is so special about them, anyways? And that is what we're going to find out. This is Dan, and I'm your host, and this is the first episode of Gothic Obscura. Their first release was a self released VHS tape called The 13th Hour, with some music videos and live performances on it, and that's it. Some of those songs on the tape would end up on their first album, Come Out of the Dark. One of those songs in question is Lost Child, which was dedicated in memory of bassist Justin Walker's deceased child who died when she was only a baby. The videos were directed by Johnny Halfhead, and the photography was done by Andy Onion. Yes, that is his name. This VHS tape is impossible to find these days, but an upload of the music video for the song The Traveler somehow made its way onto YouTube.
Come to be in a veil of mystery. Behind this veil you cannot see. I can read your mind and search your soul. The reason why I'm here you'll never know. You wish it might detail the stories told. Your life might crush a fatal blow. Like I can learn or be destroyed under this human form of alien.
After that, they would self release three demos: Disbelievers, Reflections, and one simply titled Sessions in 1994. They were positively received by goth magazines at the time, and this would get them the attention of goth and industrial record label Nightbreed Records, who would apparently sign them that year. Seemingly out of nowhere, a man named Mark Hoyland would take half of its place as the keyboardist. In November of 1995, they would finally release their first album, Come Out in the Dark, and it would contain songs that were originally from their demos and were re-recorded for this album. Those songs would be Lost Child, Disbelievers, and Xenomorph, named after the titular aliens from the Alien series. All of these were originally from the 13th Hour.
Disbelievers. Disbelievers.
A song even named Alien is on this album too. This one was originally on the Sessions. Another song, The Altar, from Reflections, is also on here as well. They were also interviewed by the BBC on a segment on goth and, unsurprisingly, vampires.
Reports. It's an ordinary house in an ordinary street, but behind closed doors, all is not quite as it seems. Like most families, they've got the pets, they've got the telly, they do the washing up.
Well, it's an upside-down world, but it's one that this family really relishes.
The thing is, here in Duckmanton, they're bats about vampires. The Dracules have taken to Bram Stoker's Whitby-based legend with a vengeance. Justin's had his teeth capped. They all dress the part, including 3-month-old Jareth Vallon, whose third name, Lestat, comes from the Tom Cruise film Interview with a Vampire. It's just your ordinary, everyday vampirism, really.
It's, you know, living forever, and there's the erotic side to it, which is all right, and there's the image, and it's very mystical, and it's hard to explain, really.
So it's not just bloodlust. I mean, you're not into blood, are you?
Oh no, I'm not blood cultists. There are people out there that are blood cultists, but we keep away from that.
It was through Justin's goth rock band 13 Candles that they met. Having failed to get expelled from her and Margaret Thatcher's old school in Grantham, for Lily, achieving the alternative lifestyle is bliss.
It's fun. It's the whole thing of it, with the dressing up and the music and watching the films, and basically a way so that you're not actually just sort of run-of-the-mill people. We fully intend to retire to Whitby. And you know, if Justin's teeth fall out, I'll probably have false teeth with fangs on.
What about the fact you got permanent fangs?
No, no problem. I can have them changed again. I mean, they're only crowns, so if I get bored with them eventually when I'm old and grey.
Just to loiter around Whitby and scare people. Gothic grandma.
Good for them, that's what I...
Mark Hoyland, now the guitarist, and Lewis mostly being the vocalist, they would record their second album, Angels of Morning Silence, at the Academy Studios and was released in May of 1997, around the time of the 100th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Other songs included Siren, another song dedicated to Justin's deceased child, and Woman of Dark Desires, which was originally released on the 13th hour. The album was different this time around. Instead of the very 80s goth, Sisters of Mercy, March Violets, and Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry inspired sound of their demos and first album, something that was considered a bit outdated at the time, but they pulled it off just fine despite it sounding too 80s. This album, Angels, moved them towards a heavy metal direction, a blend of slightly blackened gothic and industrial metal. Something that was more modern, more 90s and less 80s, especially as gothic metal started to emerge in the early 90s and was starting to gain more serious attention at the time, and industrial metal was at its heightened popularity. Justin Walker had this to say in a 2011 issue of Power Play magazine. We never fitted in. We will do what we want to do and how we feel it should be. We are the type of people who are leaders, not followers. 13 Candles has always appealed to a wider range of fans, so why box ourselves into one scene? We still love Goth and our roots are Goth, but all we offer is 13 Candles, plain and simple. After losing their record deal with Cacophonous and having a new sound that was polarizing, that didn't stop them from recording the EP Killing for Culture, which was recorded in 1998, but released in 2000, which was apparently self-released under Nocturnal Records. They also got rid of the Sex Machine for an actual drummer named Paul Mackey, and they would find a keyboardist named Tim Turner. But unfortunately, Lewis Holloway would leave the band, and they would find a replacement named Danny Finch. This would be their very last record, as they would soon break up afterwards, and as a result, they would gradually fade away into obscurity as the years passed into the first decade of the new millennium. So, where are they now, and what happened to them all these years? Well, Lewis Holloway started his own band called The Realm in 1999, which was active until 2011. Justin Draco Walker was involved with an ancient Egyptian-themed black metal band called Fields for Rue, which was assembled back in 2002 and made a guest appearance on the Personality Crisis song Sick. Mark Hoyland started his own black metal band called Wither and released an album in 2006 and was involved with several other projects throughout the past decade. Danny Finch was heavily involved in the black metal scene and still is today. Paul Mackey seemed to move on from doing music during the 2000s, and Tim pretty much disappeared off the face of the planet, as if he just burned to ash in the hot sun one day. That being said, you're going to be surprised at what happens next, because unlike a good chunk of obscure 90s goth bands that broke up, Lewis, Justin, Mark, Dan, and Paul reformed the band as a live-only act in 2011. But how did this all happen? What made them want to put the band back together, and why did they break up in the first place? In 2011, Danny Finch told Power Play magazine the reason why they broke up. We got to a point where we were kind of stuck. We lost our deal with Cacophonous. A few labels showed some real interest, but there was this weird thing going on at the time within the music scene. We had no management. Nothing. I watched some videos of some of our last gigs recently, and it was amazing to see just how on top of our game we were near the end. But I guess we're all just fed up, so we called it a day. Plus, the guys wanted to do something away from 13 Candles. We were all into heavy music, and I think we knew we couldn't turn 13 Candles into a black metal band or whatever. Justin Walker also stated, we all got disillusioned with everything. We had shit with labels and managers, and there was so much backstabbing and bitching in the scene that we had enough. Mark was doing his black metal band, Dan was doing stuff, Polly had left the band, and I was doing a project as well, and there was other personal stuff going off and we just drifted. Danny described the whole situation around the breakup as like waking up with a hangover with the house smashed up and way too many empty bottles everywhere. But in the same way a bacon sarnie and strong coffee cures a hangover, time has healed many scars, and it seems the idea of 13 Candles getting back on the road has never been far from anyone's mind. We've been talking about it since we broke up back in 2000. I remember hearing Mark and Lou did a gig of Candle stuff back in 2005, I think it was, and I remember being pretty mad that I wasn't asked. But I waited for the phone to ring and it never did. Then Mark, Lou, and Justin did a gig in 2009, and again the phone didn't ring. I wasn't so pissed off then. I was happy living with my girlfriend in Colchester. Then last year I got in touch with Paul and we started talking again. Joked about doing some Candle stuff again. And next thing you know, I'm talking with Justin and Mark, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. They also commented on how great the tour was going to be, with Danny stating, I think these will be the best shows in the band's history. We are all better musicians and performers than we were 10 years ago. I think it's going to sound huge live. I think there's a certain amount of pitching going on again with our return. People are kind of like, oh, here they come, the sad old goths. But I think they will change their opinion of us once we leave the stage. Justin also commented, full energy, powerful, atmospheric, all out 13 Candles onslaught. We are better and tighter as a band than we've ever been. We can now actually play well. They would be active from 2011 to apparently 2021, as their Facebook account hasn't been updated since 2021. However, there is no official announcement of the band ending. So there you have it. 13 Candles is one of the best goth bands from the 90s you probably never heard of. They started out playing jangly 80s style gothic rock. They made an album that combined goth with industrial and black metal at a time when it was very rare to do so and still is. Although Angels of Morning Silence was divisive at the time, it is now appreciated by many for a classic that it is now. They had a theme that was heavily based around vampires that made them stand out among the rest of the goth scene. While plenty of goth bands had some vampire-themed songs, the amount of goth bands that were heavily based around vampires were rarer than you'd think. The most notable ones were the obviously named Nosferatu, Lestat, named after you-know-who, and Paralyzed Age. And all of these bands are relatively obscure even in the goth subculture these days. 13 Candles were looking like they were going to be bigger than they actually were, especially with all the attention they were receiving in the media, to becoming so obscure that if you try to look them up on Wikipedia, you will find nothing. Should they have gotten more recognition and success? That's for you to decide. So that's it for now. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, leave a comment below, no trolling allowed, and subscribe to this channel and on my Patreon for early access, uncut videos, and extras.